Man, it is going to be a wild and woolly season this year in the National Football League. To me and to a lot of people, the best division is going to be the AFC North. Let's get into some of those topics today and also discuss maybe the biggest rivalry, Pittsburgh-Cleveland, and let's talk about it and let's get into it a little bit. All right. Thank you guys for joining in, man. As always, remember to like, subscribe, comment on the video. Just let us know what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong. All of that feedback helps. Today, we got a special guest, my man, Jody Coleman. What is going on, Jody? What's happening,
man? How are you doing, man? It's been a long time coming, man.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I appreciate you joining the show, man. Let's just get into this real quick. So the AFC North, to me, this year is going to be the toughest division maybe in recent memory. The last time I think a division is going to be this good is like those late 90s or early 90s, I guess it was the East, the NFC East back then with Washington, Philly, the Cowboys, the Giants. I don't remember a division literally being this strong. I'm sure somebody will come up with something since then. But with all these good teams, man, tell me what you think about how difficult it's going to be in the AFC North this year.
Well, the AFC North, I know you're a big-time Pittsburgh fan, man.
Right.
I know that, but I'm a huge Cleveland fan. So
right.
Two people that can talk about it would be us. But this particular season, because even last season, where Cleveland was the lowest team with 7 wins. I mean,
right.
Cleveland, you got to think about it, we didn't have our quarterback 11 games into the season. So
right.
You never know what can happen. But this particular season, I believe, is going to be the most competitive because anybody can win it. We know that they got the Bengals. The Bengals are probably the favorite. I mean, and rightfully so, with Burrow coming back and Chase, those guys. And then you have the Baltimore Ravens getting Lamar Jackson back and paying him finally. And we got to understand, every season that Lamar Jackson, the last 2 seasons that he went out, the Baltimore Ravens were in first place.
Yep.
And matter of fact, 2 years ago, they were the first. They had the best record in the AFC when he went.
Yep.
So, and then we go to Pittsburgh, who Mike Tomlin don't have losing seasons. We know he doesn't have losing season. And then you turn to Cleveland. Now we got Deshaun Watson. That all that BS is behind him. He knows the offense. Actually, we really, if you look at the games we lost, is because we couldn't make plays at the end of the game. Didn't have a quarterback that can make plays. No disrespect to Jacoby Brissett, but he's a backup for a reason. So, this division, I can't wait because every game is going to be a slugfest.
Right, and that's kind of the way that I look at it too. Every team, in my opinion, every team got better. Every single team got better. It's not often that you can say that in a division. Usually somebody take a step back here or there. In the offseason, every single team got better. Ooh. I mean, Cincinnati, it looks like they've kind of solidified the line. I know a lot of people are down on Orlando Brown, and that's fine, but Orlando Brown still is a very good left tackle, and he is leaps and bounds better than what the Bengals had. Now, if he plays that way, the Bengals got something. Now, if he doesn't, that's something different. But I'm just saying the Bengals, everybody said their offensive line was bad. Well, now they're trying to solidify they got better there. Everybody said that the Ravens, you know what, they don't have enough weapons. You know what? I think they got enough weapons now, man. Things that they're doing. The Steelers, they said, you know what? We got to beef up our offensive line. We got to get some secondary help. They did that. I think that's going to help, tremendously. With a lot of Steeler fans hate Matt Canada. But the bottom line is I'm not sure he was able to run his real offense because the offensive line was so bad.
Right.
And then Cleveland, and we'll talk about it a little bit more. I'll let you get into it. But for me, I think Cleveland got better just for the simple fact, forget anything else. Other than Deshaun Watson got a full offseason in the program, and he is the guy that's going to step in and make – because, again, He missed 11 games. I mean, come on, man. Somebody misses 11 games after being off the entire season the year before.
Right.
There's going to be some rust. He's got the opportunity to get rid of that, which he did the last, 7 games or 6 games. I just think every team has gotten better, Jody. It's going to be crazy.
And see, what you said about Cleveland is not just Deshaun Watson, but if you look at drafting Cedric Tillman, who I believe was definitely a first-round talent. You get this kid in the 3rd round, 6'3", 213 pounds, heavy catch radius. He high points the ball, catches the ball in traffic. Hey, we got a steal right there. But then you go on, and you can really say our second pick, Cleveland's second pick, was Elijah Moore. We made the trade with the Jets, bringing a disgruntled wide receiver over with a ton of talent out of Ole Miss.
Absolutely.
Then people forget that Darius People-Jones had a outstanding season for a 6th-round pick. He had over 800 yards receiving. We already know what Amari Cooper done. And then we went and got the speedster from Seattle and Marquise Goodwin, kid that can absolute fly. So now you're looking at a team that really couldn't do anything in the passing game. Because I got a stat out here. I don't know. Cleveland Browns are the only team in the Super Bowl era that has never had multiple 1,000-yard seasons from a receiver in their career.
Oh, wow. I had no idea.
I only know that because I'm a Browns fan. Now, we did have Ozzie Newsome at tight end do it twice in his career. But other than that, not Webster Slaughter, not Odell Beckham, not Josh Allen. None of those guys had more than one 1,000-yard season. So Amari Cooper, who had 1,000 yards last year, has the opportunity to break the record for Cleveland.
Okay. Well, and that just goes – and then the person that I think is the most important person on your offense, you didn't even name him, is Nick Chubb. Well, it's crazy how good they are, and that's the guy that comes down. And I'm not saying you're discounting him. I'm just saying it's crazy how good and how much better Cleveland got. And then you get to Nick Chubb. That's nuts to me.
But you know what, B? It's like with Chubb, now he's finally – and there's nothing wrong with Kareem Hunt. I mean, Kareem Hunt had moved on, but I have said this for a few seasons. I feel like Kareem Hunt was the reason why Nick Chubb doesn't have 2,000 yards rushing.
Absolutely.
So he's out of the lineup. I think he gets the bulk of the carries. We got a young fellow in Cleveland. I want y'all to make sure y'all understand. His name is Jerome Ford. He came out of UC, University of Cincinnati. He's been waiting on the bench. He's been returning kicks for us. He's explosive, so he can catch out the backfield. This is a kid that I just want everybody to understand. We got somebody that can still be a change of pace running back.
Gotcha. And everybody needs that. Every team needs that. So, it's funny. I shouldn't say funny. What you talk about Nick Chubb last year, I was saying the same thing. I'm like, why did Nick Chubb get 15 carries this game? Why is Nick Chubb with 18 carries this game? How come he doesn't have 25? And the 15 carries, 5.4 yards a carry. I'm like, what are we doing here? What are we doing, man? And I know me and you would go back and forth on TikTok, and I'd be on. I'm like, what is going on here? What are they doing, man?
Hey, I would always say the only person that can stop Nick Chubb is Cleveland itself. A lot of times when I looked at the low carries, I'm like, what are you trying to save him for? Because running backs' life expectancy is he's already surpassed what most average running backs have, their life expectancy. So it's like, what are you trying to preserve him for? Nick Chubb is a guy that doesn't speak. He doesn't verbalize anything. He just kind of sits back. He's a team player, and he goes out there to give you 110%. But if I'm a defense coordinator, if I'm the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I'm looking like, every time I see Nick Chubb out the game, I take a sigh of relief.
Absolutely.
Like, thank you.
Absolutely. Now, I know he doesn't give you a ton in the passing game, and I think that's kind of, should we say, where Cleveland was trying to overthink it. But my opinion, you got an offensive line as good as your offensive line, and you got a running back as good as your running back is. Hey, man, when you want to run the ball, you can run the football, and teams can't really do a whole lot to stop it. That's just what I saw.
You know what? It's crazy that, they say he doesn't give a lot in the passing game, but I've seen him have several games where he had 2 to 3 catches for about 40 or 50 yards. And sometimes with him just being on the field, being a decoy, because you have 100%. To account for that. And one time that they did keep him in the game, I believe it was against the Green Bay Packers, not this year, but like last year. And it was like a 3rd and 9, and we ran a sweep to him, and he got the first down on 3rd down. So it's like, even if he's not going to be completely in the passing game, because we know that he can block. He's a great pass protector.
Sure.
But I mean, is he McCaffrey out the backfield? No. But I mean, we don't know because you really never gave him a full opportunity to do so.
Absolutely. One thing, and we'll end it on Chubb is, or in talking about Chubb, is that you mentioned something earlier as far as running back life expectancy, and that he is past that point. I think Nick Chubb is one of those guys that is going to be productive past that point. You know, there's some guys, you get to a certain age, certain number of carries, that's it. They literally just fall off a cliff. I don't think Nick Chubb is that guy. I think the way that he trains in his off season and what he does, I think he's one of those guys because he takes care of his body, he takes care of his legs. I think he's one of those guys that we're going to see be productive in the running game as a running back for several more years.
And you know, B, Nick Chubb is a low center of gravity type of running back as well.
Mm-hmm.
He runs behind his pass. He's very low to the ground, so he doesn't take a lot of hits. He doesn't take any unnecessary hits. He knows how to get out of bounds when necessary, and he will run through you if he feel like he has to.
Absolutely.
So when you make those analogies about Nick Chubb, I agree 110%. And it's like, he has to carry the football because, you know, most running backs need about 10, 11, 12 carries to get lathered up anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I love to see what they're going to do. And now that you can't load the box against Cleveland because Deshaun Watson is the quarterback and we do have outside weapons. And let's not forget about that offensive line and Njoku. And Njoku really showed me something because I was ready to really hang it up with Njoku.
A lot of people were, man.
I mean, this guy's a physical specimen and couldn't catch a cold if he was right there and it was freezing cold outside. So I just, you know, he really showed me that he really wants to play football. And that offensive line, man, you can't say enough about those guys. And they've been together now for a couple of seasons, the main piece of the two guards and the two tackles. We have Chains out center. Nick Harris went out early on. I really thought was going to be our starting center. He went out early on in the season, but with the way that we're able to plug and play on the offensive line, man, is very beneficial. And let's see what can happen. I'm really excited about this season.
Absolutely. Now, on the other side, obviously, of this rivalry is the Steelers. The Steelers got better. I mean, the Steelers got better. We had some holes, you know, that were glaring. They were just glaring. Our offensive line play was pathetic. Let's just call it what it was. It was pathetic. Right. But the Steelers figured out a little bit on how to be able to run the football towards the end of the season. That's the one thing that I think Cleveland doesn't do great is stopping the run. Did they do anything in the offseason to try to rectify that or change? Because to me, I'm biased. Granted, I think J.J. Watt's the best outside pass rusher in football. But if he ain't the best, it's Myles Garrett. There you go. That's what I'm saying. I'm biased.
You already know where I'm going.
So if they're the top two, let's call them the top two.
Right.
Okay. Other than that, though, up the middle and linebacker Cleveland, they haven't stopped the run very well at all. You know, and I thought Jadeveon Clowney was going to be a guy to be able to help him do that. I guess that's another guy that fell off a cliff. Can't stay healthy, fell off a cliff. Did they do anything in the offseason to try to thwart what teams are going to be able to bring at them in the run game?
Absolutely. And since really they're coming back to existence in 1999, they really have always been in the bottom half of stopping the run.
Right.
Like, I mean, we always been, I think the highest we got was like 19. I mean,
right.
And we're talking about in a 20 some odd year span. So I think they finally said, you know what, we're sick of it. We do have Myles Garrett, who I feel like is the best pass rusher in football.
Right.
we have Myles Garrett on the outside. So they went and got a guy from Minnesota that has a very high run stop radius and Tomlinson, a guy that's he was in Minnesota. He can really push the pal. He can actually push it where he can let the linebackers get in there and make plays. So in this draft, a lot of people was like, well, why didn't Cleveland take get some playmaking linebackers? Why did they go wide receiver and other positions that they received in the offseason and in the draft? Is because they felt as if our linebackers are solid enough to make plays, but if your D line is not taking up 2 and 3 blocks, creating gaps for the linebackers to come up and make plays, then they're going to look bad. So we got a lot of young linebackers that are very, very unproven. But I think right now, with just the signing alone of Tomlinson, and we got the kid out of Baylor, the 340. Well,
Yeah.
He's a complete run stopper. You don't think he's gonna sack a quarterback, but when you got Myles Garrett, you might not need that, but you need a guy that can really plug up the line when you have to play the likes of the Bengals with Joe Mixon. You got to play the Ravens with, we know what Lamar Jackson and J.K. Dobbins can do when they're healthy, and then the Pittsburgh Steelers, who Najee Harris, when committed to running the football, we know how physically gifted Najee Harris is. So you got to win your division, and before you worry about any other teams in the NFL, and we address things according to our division. So I think we did do a lot up the middle.
I gotcha. So this rivalry, Steelers Browns. Now look, as a Steelers guy, I gotta say the rivalry's kind of been one-sided, and a lot of Steeler fans, and look, I've been watching, I'm 47 years old. I can remember when I was 5 years old paying attention to the Steelers. And so I've talked to a lot of Steeler fans over the years. They don't necessarily consider Cleveland as our biggest rival, but I know the Browns consider the Steelers as the biggest rival. So let's talk about that a little bit. Tell me, and I mean, I know why it's a rivalry. I mean, the question is not why, but the Browns at some point, and look, I'm going to give it to you, man. The Browns got to get over the hump. At some point in time, the Browns have to get over the hump. Can this be a year that the Browns get over the hump?
Wow. I'm going to agree with your Pittsburgh Steelers fans, and I'm a Cleveland fan, and no, it's not a rivalry because a rivalry, the other team has to win sometimes.
Right. Right.
And outside of the season that we won in the playoffs, Big Ben basically owned us. You know,
yeah, he did.
We didn't draft him. He's right here. I'm from Ohio. He's right here down the street from me. Went to Miami of Ohio, and Cleveland passed up on him.
They did.
So I'm pretty. He has. I think he won. He was like 22-3, I believe, in the state of Ohio.
Yeah.
So it's not a rivalry until the other team can actually throw a punch. And right now, we're just getting completely knocked out consecutively. Like we're continuing to get knocked out. But the ties are changing slightly where we're at least able to be competitive. We actually won. Didn't we beat y'all this year early on?
You did.
It was an ugly game.
Yep.
And then y'all came back and beat us late with Kenny Pickett. I think the rivalry can come back, but like I said, I'm 44, so I remember those days back when it was really a rivalry in the 80s. You know, I remember that's when I fell in love with the Cleveland Browns about 84, and that was when Terry Bradshaw was hanging it up and Stallworth and all those guys. So we had an opportunity to beat you guys because of those guys retiring. So, you know, between 84 to like 90, that's the time I felt like Cleveland was kind of dominating the series.
Okay.
And then the 90s, y'all get Neil O'Donnell and y'all right back kicking our butt. And then, of course, we went out of existence, and we really have not been able to compete with y'all ever since. But I do think that these games are about to be a lot more interesting and a lot more even because of the quarterback play. Y'all had Big Ben for years, and like I said, Big Ben was he's a Hall of Famer, first ballot. I mean, the kid was phenomenal, and you can do nothing, even as a rival team or team. I don't really like y'all too much, but you got to give credit when credit is due to what he did in the NFL.
Right. And, you know, here's the thing. Cleveland just didn't have a quarterback. They didn't have a quarterback for years and years. They just didn't have a quarterback, man. And look, a lot of people got mad, and I think rightfully so, for the amount of money that they paid Deshaun Watson. That was insane. But the only thing that I will say about that is we didn't have a quarterback. We have never had a quarterback. We believe that this guy is going to take us to the next level, and I am willing to pay whatever it is that I got to pay so we can have a quarterback, so our fans can actually have some hope. That part, I 100% agree with what the Browns did.
You know what, B, man, I don't have a problem with what they spent on a quarterback because we have signed every other position of need. Nick Chubb is signed. Myles Garrett is signed. Denzel Ward is signed. Our whole offensive line is signed. We signed Njoku. So my thing is, we have to give our hats off to Andrew Berry. I mean, he's a young black man at the GM position, and he's been pushing all the right buttons ever since he's been in town. We have had at least been into December a team to be reckoned with. Like going into December, we at least was in the mode to go to the playoffs for the last 4 seasons.
Right.
So I mean, that's something Cleveland hasn't done, and he did it with, like you said, mediocre quarterback play. Because when they picked Baker Mayfield, I'm like, wow, what are we doing? Like, here we go again. But let me say this about Baker Mayfield. He goes down in Cleveland Brown history as one of the top 5 quarterbacks in our history because of the fact, just because he beat y'all in the playoffs. Something that we have never done before. So Baker Mayfield, I think he fit the scheme like we need him to, but to get to that next level, that was kind of like the Alex Smith, Patrick Mahomes deal, where Alex Smith would have had Kansas City competitive, but there's no way that they would be as dominant until they got Patrick Mahomes. So that's how I feel about Deshaun Watson.
I got you. Like I said, the money was nuts, but at the same time, you know what? You don't have a quarterback. You've never had a quarterback since they've been back to Cleveland. They haven't had a good one. You know what? Go all in. If that's what you believe, if that's who you believe is the guy, then do what you got to do to try to solidify it, because you can. The one thing I know in the NFL, in today's NFL, you can't win without a good quarterback. You just can't win without a good quarterback. You're not doing it. I'm not saying they got to be the greatest in the league and have the greatest stats in the league, but what I am saying is, if you don't have a competent quarterback that can go out and make plays for you when they need to, you're not winning. You're just not winning.
Not even by the least bit of the imagination. You look at our division, who's always had quarterbacks.
Yeah, buddy.
The Bengals, if you want to laugh, but the Bengals then had Carson Palmer, Andy Dalton, and Joe Burrow. Then we knew that y'all had Big Ben, and then even in Baltimore, you have Flacco and Lamar Jackson. Only team that can't say that is Cleveland, that had quarterbacks that can say, "Oh, we took it to the Super Bowl." Matter of fact, we're the only team that can't say that. Every other team has been to the Super Bowl in our division.
And that just shows you. People laugh about the Bengals and say that. I'm like, Bengals had competent quarterback play for years.
Oh, yeah.
They did. Now, they didn't have anybody else because the owner wouldn't pay anybody. You know, that's a conversation for another day. But they had quarterback play, and so did the Ravens. You know, Flacco stopped playing after they won the Super Bowl, but he was incredible up until that point.
But they won. I mean,
and they won.
Y'all won the Super Bowl. The Steelers won the Super Bowl. Flacco won the Super Bowl, and Joe Burrow's been to a Super Bowl.
Correct.
Play away from winning it. So
yes. So, well, man, I appreciate the time that you gave us today, man. We're gonna do this. We got to make this a more often experience, man, because I feel like we come from the same cloth. I feel like we both understand football. We love to have fun. We love our teams. We love to give it back and forth to each other, man. And I appreciate you jumping on. Tell us where people can find you outside of on Big B Sports Talk. Where can people find you at, man?
Well, before that, I want to thank you for the opportunity, man. And the reason why I even, we follow each other, but it's like the reason why I like it so much is because our opinions are so much different, but the same.
Right.
It's like the way that you think about it, the way I think about it, at the end of the day, when it all circles back around, it ends up being the same thing.
Absolutely.
And that's the beauty. And we respect each other so much. So it's like, man, this guy, I'm like, oh, okay, let me check him out, So I just love the opportunity. I love what you're doing. I love to come back. But if you want to catch up with me, I'm on TikTok. And right now is just Jody Coleman, Against the Grain Sports. Also, you can catch me at the tdreport.com. I have a website. I do a lot of traveling with sports. Just got back from the combine. Just got back from Kansas City. I mean, not combine, but the draft. And I was at the combine. It's easy for me to get to these places because I'm right here in Ohio.
Right.
So everything is like right in close proximity of where I'm trying to go. And then I work for a media company called 4.0 Sports Media. Check that out, 4.0 sportsmedia.com. You can check out some articles I put on there. So those are the 3 entities where I'm at. Like I said, I'm on TikTok with Against the Grain Sports, and then I got a website, and then I got another site where I put up articles, which is 4.0 Sports Media. So those are the places that you can catch me at if you love sports. You can come check me out.
Absolutely, man. Appreciate you joining us. Like I said, we'll have you on again. And until then, man, have a good one, brother.
Hey, man, I appreciate you, man. Keep doing your thing, man.
All right.